guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a review on the new Kylie Cosmetics Royal Peach palette. This is what the front of the palette looks like, and it does come with a beautiful box like this. This palette I was extremely excited to try out because the colors in the palette are extremely beautiful. I did pay $45 for this palette, and that is only $3 more than the Holiday 2016 palette and the other 9 shadow palettes that she does have. The packaging feels a little bit heavier and sturdier than this packaging right here. It does come with a huge mirror right here, and it does come with a plastic cover, but since I've been digging my hands around in this, it's already dirty and I don't know where the cover is at. But like always, it does have a plastic sheet that comes over the shadows to protect them from the mirror. This palette does come with a brush. It is a blender brush that reminds me of the MAC 217 or the Sigma E25 blending brush or the Morphe M433 blending brush. So it's very good in getting transition shades into the crease. This brush is pretty soft, however, blending it on my eyelids, I don't know if I just have very sensitive eyelids, especially after the live swatches, but it did feel a little bit scratchy to me. That's pretty much expected when palettes give you free brushes. They're normally not the softest, but I think this did perform pretty well. It does come with 12 different shades, and this is what the inside looks like. And these eyeshadows are indeed the same size as her other 9 shadow palettes. And here is a side-by-side comparison. And you can also see on the back of the packaging that each shadow is worth 1.4 grams. So you definitely get more for your money. This palette comes with 5 different matte shades, and the rest of them are either shimmers or satin finishes. In terms of the formula, I absolutely love the formula of the matte eyeshadows. I do love the matte shadows that are in the Holiday 2016 palette as well. They are very soft, and I find them to blend very easily, and they are very pigmented when you apply them on the eyes. Her shimmer shadows, I think, need a little bit of work. They have a drier formula than most shimmery shadows out on the market. However, they are still pigmented. You do have to work with them a little bit more than other shimmery shadows. And I did find that a couple shadows, especially this purple one and this coral fiery color right here, they are both very chunky in terms of when you pick up the product, but you are very easily able to blend out the product on your eyelids, so really that's no big deal. I did want to mention this shade right here. I'm sure you guys have already noticed that it is broken. It did not come broken, however, the very first time that I used this palette, it all of a sudden cracked, and every single time that I would just pick up the palette and show you guys and then lightly set it back down, it would crack even more and eventually crumble. So obviously this shadow, and if not all of the matte shadows, are very, very soft. I am kind of upset that this shadow did indeed break on me because it is one of my favorite shadows in the palette, and it's a very essential transition shade in my opinion, but it's not the end of the world. And like I said, you do get a lot more for your money with this palette than the 9 shadow pan, since this is only $3 more and you get 3 more shadows in this palette. So I was extremely impressed with this blue shade right here. Swatching it, it does swatch a little bit patchy, and a lot of blue shades, they usually do swatch a little bit patchy, and they're very hard to work with. I applied this shade to the lower lash line, of course, and I did apply it on the outer part of my cut crease here to kind of emphasize the blue a little bit, and I found that it was pretty easy to blend out. When it applied very pigmented. I don't notice any patchiness once it applied it on the eyes, so I would just keep that in mind, that the way that it swatches on the hand is going to be completely different with the way that it applies on the lid. But I did find that after having some transition shades down, it did blend very easily. But overall, I think this palette is a pretty good palette. Is it essential? No, not necessarily. If these colors appeal to you, then I would say go ahead, pick it up, and give it a try. Just keep in mind what I said about the shimmers. I think they could be a little bit better, but the mattes are pretty good, and there are 5 mattes in this palette. So finally, I wanted to show you swatches side by side. Starting from left to right, I have Sorbet, Seashell, Peachy, Royal, Queen Bee, Duke, Duchess, Sandy, Mojito, North Star, Crush, and Cinnamon. And these are all finger swatches, but I did want to show comparisons side by side next to each other so you guys can see the entire palette collectively. So now I want to show you guys how the shadows work together. I am taking the light peach shade and putting that in my crease with my Sigma E40 blending brush and just sweeping it back and forth in windshield wiper motions as we usually do with every transition shade. And then we're going to go into the neutral transition shade. This is in the name Sandy, and we are taking the Kylie Cosmetics brush that comes with this palette and applying that a little bit deeper in the crease, a little bit lower than the peachy shade that we just applied. I'm going to then go into the cinnamon shade, which is the deepest transition shade that she gives you in this palette, and I am going a little bit lower than the neutral transition shade that we just applied as well. I am trying to deepen up my crease as much as I can because I'm going to go for a cut crease today. It's a little bit difficult with this palette to create a very deep and smoky look. The deepest transition shade that I'm using is not very deep at all. It's a very mid-toned brown in my opinion, and I would have liked to have a darker brown or even a black that I could use to deepen the crease a little bit more. So I carved out my crease with the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, and I went a little bit higher than I wanted, but that's okay. You can easily go as low or as high as you want, wherever you want that cut crease to be. And then I'm going right over top of it with the rosy pink shade in this palette, which is called Seashell, and I patted that right over top of that wet concealer to give it a little bit more of a foiled look and helped it to stick on a little bit better. Now I'm taking a flat definer brush and I went into the royal blue shade, and I am very carefully packing it on the outer part of the cut crease and very carefully swiping it upwards to kind of blend it in with the browns. I'm switching back and forth between a flat definer brush and a pencil brush, kind of going in and out of blending and packing on color. This part does take a little bit of time. Now I'm applying my Inglot gel liner in the shade 77, which is their black gel liner. And I am, of course, creating a wing. I am trying to make sure that the border of the wing matches the border of my eyeshadow. So when I wing out this liner, I am outlining the corner of my eyeshadow and taking it almost as high as my crease. And then I am taking the liner and outlining the inner corner of my eye and creating a very slight point. This is going to create a very cat-like effect with the liner, and I thought that it looked really cool with the cut crease. After I extended that line on the inner corner, I did bring the black gel liner in my waterline as well, just to make this look a little bit more smoky. You can stop right here where the inner quarter of the eye if you would like, or you could extend it all the way in the waterline, which is what I did. This step is completely optional, but I thought that I would go back into the blue color and smoke out the lower lash line with it. You can totally skip it and just go ahead in the dark brown cinnamon shade to smoke out the lower lash line, but I thought that the blue on the lower lash line looked good because it pulled together the blue that we put on the outer crease as well. So now I'm just going back in with the lightest peach shade in the palette with my pencil brush and smudging out the lower lash line even more to kind of help the colors blend together. So that completes this video. I hope that you find it helpful. Let me know what you think of this palette if you decide to pick it up. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys.
I will remember how you kissed me under the lamppost back on 6th Street, hearing you whisper through the phone, wait for me to come home.